Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Skywalking Through the League. We're talking basketball today. Crazy, right? But as always, I am joined by my co-host, Bill. How it goes in Lexington, my man?
Listen, I'm just sitting here drinking the traditional drink of Kentucky, an Ale 81, which real ones know about Ale 8.
What is that?
It's like a like ginger soda. It's basically like ginger ale, but like with caffeine in it. It's bottled where my mother was born in Winchester, Kentucky. Shout out to Mom. I'm really excited to talk basketball today. Listen, if I can do my 5-second Kentucky shit. Damian Mintz is coming back, which if y'all don't know who that is, he was our returning scorer from last year who had entered the NBA draft. And Kentucky's made a lot of great offseason moves. They've got a lot of transfers. They've got Davion's coming back. They might have the number one recruit from next year who's reclassifying to this year. So you might be dealing with a 2015 38-1 team, and which I'm just stupidly excited for. I can't. It's just I could talk for an hour about how excited I am for next season on football and basketball. But yeah, Damian Mintz is coming back. Name, image, likeness. Let's pay Damian Mintz to come on the pod. That's basically what I'm saying.
Get him pay him a cameo to just say the pod's name.
Dude, listen, he's charging $25 for a cameo. I would do that if he would show up for like 5 minutes. I would do it. I would just out of my pocket. Just be like, Scott, because I think Michigan State had
ask him like a Star Wars question.
Why not? Because Michigan State had a player that like did the name, image, likeness thing where a podcast paid him like I don't know how much money, but he was like, I've never listened to this podcast before, but like you should listen to it. It can't be terrible. So,
you know that guy, White Claw Gabe?
Yes. Oh,
he someone did a cameo for him. He was like, "Fuck, baby, fuck. Listen to KS 107.5 radio, baby, fuck." And it was so good, but he couldn't say any of that on air, so it was just like, "Yeah, baby, yeah." But that was so good.
I'm really glad you got the. I sent you one of his TikToks yesterday from when
he's on Cameo. He'd be a fuck, baby, fuck. Listen to Skywalking through the league, baby.
Listen, fuck. Listen to Skywalking through the league. Fuck. 1,000 beers. Fuck. Oh, that's gonna be us on Friday. Real ones know about Fridays. But yeah, there's a lot of NBA stuff to get to today, isn't there?
Yeah. Last night, basically, something miraculous happened that has never happened before. Chris Paul made it to the NBA Finals for the first time in his illustrious NBA point guard NBA career. The Phoenix Suns won 130-103 against the Los Angeles Clippers. Wah, wah, wah. But that series, before the playoffs, I thought that the Suns were going to lose to the Lakers, as I think a lot of people did. But once they started kind of catching a break and round one, Anthony Davis got hurt. And that's not to take away anything from the Phoenix Suns. But sometimes championships just you need some luck on your hands. And then in round two, Jamal Murray and Will Barton were out. And then in round three, Kawhi Leonard was out. But that doesn't take away anything from what the Phoenix Suns did. But it's pretty awesome seeing Chris Paul in the finals for the first time in his, NBA career. Same with Monty Williams. But were you rooting for the Suns or the Clippers at all? What was your overall takes for that series?
They're the people's Suns. You have to be for the people's Suns. It's
just tough because of the Nuggets.
I mean, but once you get over that, once again, repping the Kentucky, repping UK, Devin Booker's a Kentucky guy. It's not hard for me to cheer for the Suns. And
Boogie was on the Clippers.
Boogie and Rob, but Patrick Beverly's on the Clippers. Did he go
to Louisville?
No, I just don't like Patrick Beverly.
Oh yeah, I don't think a lot of people. Chris Paul definitely doesn't.
Yeah, that when he pushed Chris Paul that he is consistently I think we talked about it last week or whenever we had Quentin on, where Beverly has just been consistently one of the dirtiest players in the NBA, and he continues to confirm that. But ESPN says that. Go ahead.
if NBA players were dogs, Patrick Beverley would be a Chihuahua. He's just like,
and then like
it's just annoying. Like you like I don't really like any Chihuahuas. Shout out to Chihuahuas, but I'm sorry. Shout out to Chihuahuas. Very seldom met a really nice Chihuahua.
Yeah,
they've always been like old or just terrible and want to bite you. So
they're yip dogs.
That's Patrick Beverley's like.
He pushed him and ran away. Like he pulled a Melo in like 2007. Like it just But to answer your question, yes, I was cheering for the Suns, and like I remember when we were doing our first NBA playoff preview, and you talked about finding joy in the Clippers losing when they were down to the Mavericks. Same, because like once and sure the Suns have gotten lucky, but they've also been good. Like they beat last season. The Nuggets got to the Western Conference Finals last season. The Lakers won the NBA final. Well, just won the NBA Finals last year. So like, sure they got lucky, but they're beating like last year's great teams. And like, sure there was injuries, but like that's the game of basketball. Like that happens all the time. Like you play the team that's in front of you right now, and that's just part of the game. Like I completely understand that criticism, but like they're still good. Like I understand Tom Thibodeau was a good coach, and like he did a lot for the Knicks, but I don't understand how Monty Williams isn't the coach of the year, seeing where he is right now. Like he got a team that was what did they finish last year? Like I know they got hot
last
in the bubble.
year. They were the 9th seed, but the 2 years before that they had won 20 games.
Yeah, exactly. So like, how many games have they won this season? Like 50 something.
I don't know. That they were the 2nd seed.
Like that's.
But, I mean, they were pretty incredible this season. I made the comparison to what Chris Paul has done to what Tom Brady did with the Bucks.
I don't think I think that's a good comparison, because like you said, like it's veteran leadership. He's 36, is that right? And like wherever he's been good, and like has elevated everywhere he's been. And like I think this is just like it was just the stars aligning in a perfect way where he's, he has young talent. He has Devin Booker. He has DeAndre Ayton. He has the way that the game is played now is basically the strengths of the Phoenix Suns, and like he's just a proven commodity and somebody that I don't care where he's been. I've always rooted for him. I think he's just a fantastic player, and I kind of hope like. It would be funny to me that if of all the places that he's been, like you would have thought like, he played with Harden and, he's been all these, and he played with the Clippers. Like he would have made it to the NBA Finals at this point, but like this is his first finals. And like, I'm so happy for him. I think this is of a shitty year. This is a great story that like, especially if he wins, like, that's the story of the finals.
They'll be favored, and they'll be favored in both series, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially given, the injuries to Trae Young is out tonight, which is
and so is Giannis, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll be out tonight too. Tonight's game might suck.
I mean, like I said it last
lemon pepper Lou.
I said it last week. I'm still not convinced the Hawks are a good team. Like
Hawks are good.
I think they've got like in the same way that like the Suns have gotten lucky with injuries and stuff like that. I just think that the Hawks have had more luck than skill some of the time. Like I like watching Trae Young. I think Trae Young is amazing to watch, but like, and other than that, like what are they? Like they got hot.
There's a lot of guys who can make shots. It's pretty crazy. Like they were a team that like in the summer they got Gallinari, they got Bogdanovich, they signed Rondo, which turned into Lou Williams. I think that's all they did. They signed Chris Dunn, who doesn't play. But now they have like their starting lineup: Trae Young, Bogdanovich. Freaking DeAndre Hunter's hurt, and he was awesome for them. Cam Reddish is a good shooter. Kevin Herter is really good. I mentioned Bogdanovich, Gallo. Like Lou Williams. They just have got a lot of guys who can make buckets. And when like 4 of those 7 guys are making those baskets, like it's hard to stop them. They almost just have too many guys that can just go off. That it doesn't even matter if the defense sucks. And I also don't think that the teams that have played the Hawks have really tried to expose Trae Young on defense, which is something that he really isn't good at doing, is playing defense. So I think if the Hawks play the Suns in the finals, I think the Suns might win in 5. But I also just think that could be a really fun series if things do go right. I like the Bucks. I just think the Hawks are more fun personally. I think the Hawks are like a crazy fun team that just have firepower on every single position. And it'll be a really fun series. Trae Young versus Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton versus Clint Capella and stuff like that.
So how do you foresee the Eastern Conference ending? Do you see the Hawks winning? Do you see the Bucks win? Like, for if it's all dependent on who's hurt and who's not. Like, if
both players have both teams have their best players hurt, that kind of makes it neutral again.
Yeah,
and I trust in the Hawks without their best player because they didn't have their best player last game, and they still kicked the Bucks' ass.
They did.
Giannis didn't get hurt till the third quarter, I think, and they still were beating them by 20 points or so. So it's tricky. I think Lou Williams can do 75% of what Trae Young can do. I don't think there's a guy on the Bucks that can do anything near what Giannis can do.
No.
So
I don't think anybody in the NBA can do what Giannis is doing right now. I think he's if you had to gun to my head, I'd probably I'd pick the Bucks right now just because I like Giannis if he's not hurt. Like I think that he just has a motor. I think that he's just so hard to defend and if he's on, exactly. But so is Trae Young. I kind of just there's part of me because I think I've mentioned this before. My aunt has a farm in Wisconsin, and so I've always kind of identified with Wisconsin, like Kentucky, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been my second home. So and they have I think they have a good team that they've done it the right way. And I'd like to see them win, but at the same time, I love Atlanta. So I Bucks in 7 if you had a gun to my head, but that's just because I've been wrong about the Hawks since the beginning, so I don't know. And I'll fully admit that.
Yeah, it's the Hawks have been. I mean, I think a lot of us. I mean, I did. I picked the Hawks to lose to the New York Knicks, but they've been good. I mean, they're an exciting team. I really do think that without Giannis and without Trae Young, that really does give the Hawks an advantage. It'll be an interesting game tonight. I'll definitely be watching, but I definitely I'll probably pick the Hawks in 6, which is pretty crazy.
Damn, really?
I don't think the Bucks win another game. The Bucks have the worst coach in the playoffs.
But he's still in the Eastern Conference.
Because KD's foot was a centimeter too long. That's why he's still in the playoffs. It's because KD hit a 3 to win the game, and his foot was too big, and it was a 2. So the playoffs.
Texas legend.
I remember seeing him when I was 7, and I remember him being the tallest person I had ever seen in my entire life at that point. Because I walked down to the court in Boulder, Colorado, because CU used to play Texas a lot, and I saw Kevin Durant, and I was just he's so tall. It's amazing at what he can do at 6'11". You know
what? And we're gonna get off topic a little bit, but that's fine. I think that's fine. What is the coolest basketball player that you've seen besides KD? What's the coolest basketball game you've been to? Who is the best player that you've seen play live?
I mean, being our age, it's LeBron.
You saw LeBron in person
LeBron on his birthday. Yeah.
When? What year?
2014, 2015. It was his 29th, 30. It was his 31st birthday. His birthday is December 29th, I think. So
he was playing the Nuggets was he with the Heat at that point?
Cavs.
Okay.
Cavs.
Yeah.
I think it was 2014.
I've never been to an NBA game before, which I know is someone who is co-hosting an NBA podcast is probably not great, but we'll get there soon. I'll go to Indiana or Memphis or something where it's close.
To answer the other part of your question, the two regular season games I saw this year, I saw the Nuggets lose to the Raptors in Tampa, which was crazy. And then I saw the Magic play the Grizzlies, and Cole Anthony hit a game-winning 3.
Oh, you saw that? I remember watching that game.
It was awesome. Like that was so sick. I was so hyped leaving the stadium that day. I was just like, holy shit! Like I'm vaccinated. I'm back in like public again, and I just witnessed a game-winning shot. I haven't witnessed a game-winning shot in person in like 8 years at an NBA game. So it was sick. It was so much fun. So that's what comes to mind recently. But I was at the game in 2012 when Ty Lawson hit a shot over Thabo Sefolosha and did the infamous this. He did that right in his face. And it was a game winner in the regular season. Nuggets versus Thunder. Thunder were really good that year and beat us in the playoffs. But it was a lot of fun, and that will forever be my Ty Lawson moment. He was good. But yeah, I mean, there's some more news. There's not a lot of news to kind of get to in the NBA right now. But one thing that's like definitely been tricky for me to manage is the whole Chauncey Billups situation.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Chauncey Billups is now the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and there has been a resurfacing of events that happened in 1997 where he went to court and he settled out of court for a sexual assault case, and no charges were ever made, but he settled, and there's details of the case, and the details of the case are pretty disturbing. And I've grown up my whole life with Chauncey Billups as my favorite basketball player. I played pig with him at the Nuggets practice facility. I grew up with a fat head of him on my wall. My Twitter header has him front and center. So this has definitely been something that's been really hard for me to tackle. But I guess my overall thoughts are like, I thought he was going to be a really good head coach before all of this stuff has happened. And I guess the point that I want to make is like in situations like this, I always believe the women because, they're the ones that has happened to. And it's pretty hard to speak up about an NBA player doing something to you when you feel powerless and you feel possibly ashamed of what happened or anything like that. So in these situations, like I always believe like women, and I just think it's important to come forward and trust people who make these allegations because the allegations are tough to make and everything like that. So I wanted to start off by saying that, but then in the second case, I do think there is something to be said about being able to sort of be a model like citizen since that event. And Chauncey Billups has 3 daughters. He has been a really important person in the Denver area. He's called the King of Park Hill back in Denver because that's where he's from. He went to CU. He's a Colorado legend. He like none of this stuff came up when he was hired for ESPN and when he was hired as an assistant coach on the Los Angeles Clippers. Now that isn't to be said that like he's getting canceled now and we shouldn't and we should just scream like, oh, cancel culture. No, it's like being held accountable. But it's been a really tricky like situation for me to kind of figure out how I feel about. But I guess the thing that I wish would happen at this point is I wish he would like really sit down with someone and talk about like how he feels like that event changed his life and how he feels like that event made him a better person, and then donate a lot of money to sexual assault charities, and then like be an active advocate for stuff like that, because I think there's something to be said about like doing like having something happen and then being like a completely better person since that event. But I also think people need to be held accountable for their actions, and it's just tough because we don't exactly know what happened. Right. So it's just a really tricky situation, but I definitely want to say that like I believe the women who come forward in this sort of thing.
And I want to mirror your comments because I completely agree. Like you look at the news this week, and Bill Cosby gets out of fucking jail. Like,
and Britney's, we didn't free Britney, we freed Bill.
That's so. It's so infuriating. Like, you think that like finally some semblance of justice has been done, but by some technicality he gets out. It's fucked. But what I will say about Chauncey, I've always liked Chauncey Billups. Even like I think my first like interaction or fandom with him was when he was with the Pistons, and I liked the Pistons because Tayshaun Prince played for him and he won the NBA championship with them. And then when he went to Denver, and like that was kind of when I started liking the Nuggets because of the book fair poster my mama got me.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening here to me is it feels like the Blazers didn't really do their homework and like have
the Blazers are like who is like fucked this all up. Like they're the ones that have handled this the worst. Chauncey hasn't handled this poorly, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. He during the press conference, when they introduced him as coach on Tuesday, someone asked him like about that event, and he said like, you know, it was something that changed his life. He didn't feel like he did anything bad. I don't know if he said that, but he was open to talk about it. And then some other reporter had a follow-up question that was like very valid. It was just like, can you elaborate on that? Mm-hmm. And Neil O'Shea, who is the president of basketball operations for the Blazers, was like, no. Like he will not talk about that. And it's just like, you need to address this situation. Exactly. It's really bad. The PR is terrible, and you're going to lose your star player because of this now, which will
to his like, and to Chauncey's credit, he's like, I think he's willing to talk about it. And like, I don't think that you can just like forgive him out of hand, but like I think he's so far has given the indication that he can say the right things and like has actually like learned the lessons of it, and it feels some sense of like what I did was wrong. Like I think another thing that like we just don't really talk about is like, I know he rest in peace to him, but like Kobe had an allegation against him. Like he was in court, like, and we still all talk about and cherish Kobe. I know he's passed now, but like he had that. It feels like if we're able to forgive and to reconcile,
not everyone forgave Kobe though.
I know
when he died, there was still a lot of people being like, why are we putting this rapist on a pedestal?
But like at the same time, like what's that? That's the reaction from like I'd say like the reaction to Kobe is like 80% like praise and like 20% like he's a rapist. Like I just think that there's like I think Chauncey can get there. It's just, you know, I think there has to be actions that like are behind the words. I'd be completely okay with him like coming out and talking about it, and you know, just like you said, talking about how it changed his life and how, you know, we always talk about in Star Wars, like, and I know this is probably not appropriate, but like it always seems in Star Wars, the villain always is redeemed, but he dies and doesn't get to atone. You have an opportunity to redeem and atone and to really make a difference in what you do. And I think that Chauncey has that chance right now. Because like you said, I love Chauncey Billups. I think he's one of my favorite basketball players. I think that he has the ability to be a great coach. But I think that he needs to talk. You need to talk about this. This is not something you could just put under the rug.
Yeah, totally. And like, I mean, I guess like this is a pretty easy way to transition into the Damian Lillard side of this all, mm-hmm. because Dame came out and said, I hope either Chauncey Billups or Jason Kidd are my head coaches, and which is fine. Like that's totally fine thing to say. And then after the stuff with Chauncey Billups came out, Dame tweeted that he didn't know about it, which I'm sure he didn't. I didn't know about this stuff, and I've grown up being like the number one Chauncey Billups fan in the world, I would say, at least that I've ever met. So, like, I don't think Dame knew about these allegations, about what happened in 97. He knew about the Jason Kidd shit because that stuff's public. But
what's the Jason Kidd stuff?
He beat his wife in 2002, I think, and then got a DUI in 2012.
Not great.
But he hasn't shown remorse like Chauncey. Chauncey's a way better guy. But then what happened with Dame is then he leaked a lot of information to Chris Haynes over at Yahoo Sports. And Chris Haynes basically wrote an article that Damian Lillard signed off on, saying like the response that the Portland fans have had may cause him to want to demand a trade. So like the first time in his whole Blazers career that he's getting any scrutiny, he's setting himself up to use that as a reason to get out of Portland.
I think he's going to leave.
Move.
I think he's done. I think he's gone.
But blaming the fans because you I get it from his point of view. Like, I didn't know about this, but like you did come out and say that you want Chauncey Billups to be your head coach. You did say that, and then he's saying he never said that. So it's a pretty lame response from Dame, and the first time in his career that he's ever, because he's like that guy is universally loved. So this is the first time that he's like actually gotten shit, and he can't handle it. And now he's like gonna set himself up to get traded.
Do you like? Let's say that like none of this stuff had come out. Do you think that like he would still be happy with Chauncey as his coach? Do you think that I just don't think that Portland can put the pieces around him to win a championship. Like they've been
good though. It's like the narrative has been like, oh, Portland has let him down. Like Portland's been good. They've tried.
They've been good, but they've been like good enough to get like the 8th seed. And like what's the highest seed that they've been while he's been there?
5, and they got the conference finals.
Like, I don't know, man. It just, he
has the right to want to get out, but wanting to get out because of the fan response to endorsing a coach who then comes out that he, has these allegations against them. That's bullshit. And that's lame. But I kind of want to talk about places that you could see him being fit. There's like a few teams. It's just tough with him. I've listened to a lot of podcasts about this, about Damian Lillard trades. And it's tough one because, okay, first off, he's 31 and he's signed on. He has like a 3 years left on his contract. So, and he's making like $42 million a season. So one, like good luck getting a player back equally as good as him, because you're going to have to get a top 10 player back. So you're going to lose out on a Damian Lillard trade if you're Portland. 2, he's going to have to want to go to a contender. And like what contenders can trade for Dame right now? There's only one I can think of, and it's the Clippers if they wanted to trade Paul George for him. And then 3, like you have to either figure out if you're Portland, do you want to rebuild or retool? Because if you want to rebuild, then like trade him to OKC for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or something like that. Whereas if you're like, we want to retool, then I guess this could be both. You trade for Ben Simmons, because I think the team that makes the most sense is Philadelphia for him. I think that's a team that he and Embiid would be pretty nasty together. I think that would make both sides happy, Embiid and Dame, while also getting rid of Ben Simmons and giving him sort of like a fresh start at a team that, they could either be good right now if Ben does take the strides that he can make, or they can suck right now and trade CJ McCollum and not bring back Yusuf Nurkic and stuff. So there's a lot of paths, but I mean, kind of, are there any teams that really stick out to you in terms of places you might want to see him go?
And this is totally
realistically.
I saw it on Twitter, and I don't know how realistic it is, but like Dame playing with Luka Doncic right now sounds really interesting. I don't know
how they don't have assets.
I know exactly. Like I saw that, and it was like if they can find a way to make it work, you give however first round draft. Yeah, exactly. So like, if you could make that work, sure. Because I think those are two of the best scorers in the league right now, and like you putting them together and just putting pieces around them to see if how do we make this work? I think could be interesting. Whenever they talk about trading Dame, I always see the Lakers, and I'm like, I don't know. That just seems like they already have AD. There's no way to make it work.
Taylor, Horton, Tucker aren't going to make it work.
No, they will not. Like Yeah,
Thank God for cap space.
I honestly don't.
Thank God this isn't baseball.
Mm-hmm. You know, the Heat are always trying to get superstars like that. So like
they don't have assets. Like
Tyler Herro for Damian
Tyler Herro. Yeah, that guy's stock absolutely went so far. The Heat didn't trade for James Harden because of him.
Because he wanted to be a celebrity and he didn't want to play basketball. Like that's basically it. Like
8 points a game.
8 points a game. All-star. Never lost. Like those are like LeVar Ball numbers. Like
I liked him in the playoffs last year. He was nasty, too. But I mean, I think he'll bounce back. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, the other teams that I could see, someone even threw out Denver with trading Jamal Murray, but they wouldn't do that.
No,
I mean,
no.
Jamal's a guy that they drafted. It's like
I don't think they do that.
The Nuggets already had a hard enough time trading Gary Harris. They will not trade Jamal Murray. Other teams include the Pelicans. You could trade for Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and a few picks. That can make sense. Damon Zion
would that make the Pelicans any better? Would that make the Pelicans any better?
Damon Zion?
But like I think that's just kind of like a lateral move for Dame though. Like I think that like
they wouldn't be a contender.
I think
that's why they don't make as much sense.
And that's like that basically be where he'd be with Portland. Like I mean, it'd be fun to see him with Zion because I think I do like Zion, but like that doesn't get you to the next level. That I think he wants to win right now, and like I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
The other two are Boston. You could trade for Jaylen Brown. I think Dame and Tatum would be really, really good together.
Yeah, I think Tatum is probably the one superstar there that you don't get rid of.
You can't trade him.
I honestly, Brown's probably not a bad pickup. That's probably a decent trade, and I think that Dame brings a lot more than Jaylen does. Honestly, like
Dame's a top 10 player. Jaylen Brown's a top 25-ish player.
Yeah. And then
there's a big difference.
You'd have to trade something and maybe some picks, but like
that might make picks in Jaylen Brown.
That might make the most sense, honestly, because I think that Brad Stevens is probably looking to make a splash after he's the general manager in charge of basketball operations, whatever the hell he is now.
Yeah. And then the last team that doesn't really have, I don't think they have, like, I think their offer is not the strongest offer, but it's kind of the most exciting one is the Knicks. They could trade RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson. Dude, I would trade Julius Randle. I would trade Julius Randle straight up for him. I don't think you get rid of Barrett. Emmanuel quickly. Just all the Kentucky guys. They got to get out.
I don't think you can get rid of Barrett. Barrett's the one guy like that. I think that a lot of what worked this past season was I think Randall and Barrett were the two big pieces that really, really worked and melded together. Any other pieces?
If you could trade RJ Barrett and like 5 first-round picks for Dame and then have him play with Randall, that'd be pretty cool. The Knicks would do it.
I think the Knicks would do it. I don't think it's a smart idea. I
do.
I think RJ is like a year or two away from like being the king of New York anyway. So like I don't know. I think that
he'll be an all-star, but he'll never be with anything close to Damian Lillard's. I mean, Dame's only 31, so Chris Paul's doing this shit at 36, and
I think Dame, like, to his credit, I think he would do well in New York. I think he has the type of game that like New York fans would love, but like, God, and I kind of like the Knicks too. Like,
Knicks are fun.
Yeah, if I had to pick one between like all the ones we've talked about, I'd probably pick the Knicks just because I like the Knicks out of all those teams the best.
I think the Boston one makes a lot of sense. I also think Philly makes a lot of sense. Ben Simmons and Thibault for Covington and Dame, and then the Sixers throw in 3 first-round picks. I mean, they would be the favorites with the Nets next year, I think.
Yeah.
But
true.
Cool. Well, all right. I think that'll do it for this week's show. Don't really have too much else to talk about. There's a game on in like an hour and a half, so that'll be exciting.
We'll watch it.
Yeah, but you guys can find us both on Twitter at the names that you see on your
right
screen.
Here. Right there, baby.
And then follow us at Skywalking TL. But besides that, we're going to be doing Star Wars shows and basketball shows almost every week. So stay tuned for that, reviewing the Bad Batch and everything like that. So thank you so much for listening, watching. Listening and watching. Thank you for listening and watching. Whatever you're doing. And have a great day.